Yeah, so anyway, Rivals 2 is good. It's like really good. So this will be a pretty unscripted thing. I wrote a ton of notes down for Rivals 2 when I got there Saturday morning to play it. I put down a bunch of them in Discord and on Twitter and stuff already, but I figured just having a place where I could just ramble on a bit would kind of make things hopefully a bit more coherent because there were a ton of concerns and stuff from both like Rivals 1 players and all sorts of shenanigans, so I hope to answer some questions there. And also just so I can like gush about the stuff I love about this game like so far, that Dan, Trevor, and the rest of the Rivals 2 team have just been very, very good at. So, where to start? Alright, so the demo itself was pretty bare bones. It was 6 characters, so Zetterburn, Maple, Raster, Fleet, Crag, and Ranno. And they only had their first 4 basic ults from Rivals 1. For Fleet, it was just a red, blue, and green ult that looked pretty, but were, yeah, fairly basic. I was hoping to see the pink pants Serrano that was, I think, in the down tilt showcase for one of the moveset Mondays they did. But yeah, super basic setup. You couldn't play test characters in the actual control screen itself like you can in Rivals 1. You could just reset controls. That was it. There weren't any theatrics or anything like it. It was literally just a basic purple screen and some text in terms of like picking out a character and picking out a stage. There were only 6 stages, so I think the only one we haven't seen playable yet is Tempest. So Tempest wasn't in this build. And Tempest is basically the new treetop layout one, so that one wasn't in there. Let's see. So the stages that were there were basically Jules Vale, Hodojo, which is basically just Battlefield, Tower of Heaven, Fire Capital, Rockwall, and then basically, if you're familiar with PM Sonic Green Hill Zone, that's the new Forest Floor. And then Air Armada, but Air Armada was functionally more of like Etherean Gates or the Abyssal Gates, whatever. We just call it Gates. I don't care. Build itself felt pretty stable. There were a couple crashes, mostly on like game ending screens, and it seemed to happen more on the free for all setups. So at the convention, there were 3 setups. There was one 1v1 setup where they were doing the dev 1v1s, where a lot of the Dan VODs got. That was basically the only VODs I thought to record. I didn't figure recording free-for-alls would be worth it. Also, the free-for-all setups just felt kind of laggy, but they were just kind of like big TVs and stuff, and there's a lot of just going back and forth, so it was harder to tell stuff from that. Other than that, yeah, builds seemed pretty stable for the most part. Controller stuff, you could definitely reset controls in the character select screen. Really standard stuff with the addition of adding in shield and grab. So for GameCube controller, it was just, I think they moved the strong button, the smash button, to a face button, if I wasn't mistaken, or it was still on the shoulder, one of the two. I saw a lot of wacky setups that people left over, so it was hard to tell what was default sometimes. But I'm assuming it was still just not Z like it is default in Rivals 1. But yeah, that meant that parry on the GameCube controllers just wasn't bound by default, which was weird to get used to. Because you could see it in the menu they had, it was bound to left bumper by default. But GameCube controllers don't have a left bumper, so you have to do the shield plus special method for that. And no one really used it. I don't think that was ingrained in anyone's muscle memory. Really, unless they were like specifically fishing to see like what would work. I'll talk about that later. As for like the actual controller stuff themselves, GCC still felt great. I brought my own GameCube controller to use. It felt really easy. The dev setup had an actual Wii U adapter, and just plugging into that just put me into the game right away. No like finagling with the Wii U stuff if you're familiar with trying to get that
piece of work to work.
The only one controller setup I saw was, I think, with a Switch controller. I think it was Hayes, actually. Hayes unplugged their Switch controller on the 1v1 setup, and just none of the controllers worked, so we had to reset the game. That was, I think, basically it in terms of, like, controller problems. But, yeah, people brought their own controllers. People brought their own Xbox controllers as well. They plugged right in really easily. They got right into the game. So, no issues there. People said it played really well. So, speaking of game feel, how did the game actually feel? A lot like PM. Like, probably unsurprisingly, Trevor's been kind of open that it's going to be a lot more PM-like. I think we kind of expected as much. And yeah, that definitely does disappoint. So, how did the game feel? It felt a lot like PM with a lot of input buffer. So PM players will definitely feel comfortable with this, but it is definitely a lot of input buffer. So that's probably going to be a jump you'll have to get used to. And this is like input buffer, not on like the scale of Ultimate, where it just holds your input for like an entire second, just like enough that you can like, it feels fluid still. So the game overall just feels snappy like PM does, and like Melee does, where there's a lot of precision to it. This game feels very similar, but in a less forgiving way. It's hard to describe precision while having an input buffer like that when trying to compare it to PM. But if feeling it, it makes sense. So it's like Rivals 1 if it required more precision. So just going down the list of like how each of the movement options feel. Dashing feels good. It feels a lot snappier than Rivals 1. There's like a bit more traction to it. So if you're like dashing in Rivals 1, you can almost glide, it feels like. Where this one, you just kind of snap place to place. There's definitely a little bit of an impact when you're just dashing back and forth like that. So dash dancing also felt a bit weird for that reason. So you can definitely dash dance really well. Dash dancing still feels really good. But it's more so in like, imagine if everyone has like a Melee Marth extended dash dance, but not as egregiously long as Marth dash dance. At least that's how Ranno's dash dance felt. It felt like you could hold a small area, but you're not like sitting in this really small pinpoint going back and forth. You were holding a smaller area than that. So that just kind of leaves me to believe that character dashing will still be very, very good in this game. It just felt really satisfying to just go in, moonwalk, or just go into crouch. There's definitely more PM influence on that. There's like more turnaround on the actual dashes themselves. So that probably contributes a lot to it. Wave dashing still felt great. It's not as actionable, I don't think, but it's only by like a frame or so. So if you're not like actively looking for it, wave dashing basically still feels the same. Wave dashing is still entirely functional. You're still getting a ton of plat extensions by doing like up till waveland into whatever. So yeah, wave dashing is still great. Wave dashing into just doing like options off of platforms still felt great. And still super pretty intuitive. Moonwalking was still in the game. That was really fun. If you fought me in Rivals 1, I just like to do Moonwalk Needle a lot. So I just did that in a lot of free-for-alls, and I had a blast. Baby dashing is still in. I'll probably put the Jarrett clip in here where he just baby dash down smashes Dan like 3 times. I'm glad they put in the work to keep baby dashing or like those micro dashes in. Rivals 1 I like. So the big one, plat drops. I've gotten a lot of questions about like plat drops. They functionally feel the same. They feel like PM platforms, if like anything. So I said already, this feels like Rivals 1 if it needed more precision. This is basically a big reason why. We were talking with Trevor about it, and one of the answers we got was that Trevor acknowledged that if there was Rivals 1 plat movement the way at least top players do it, where they're able to hold so much space and command so much presence just by sitting on platforms for a while, or just doing like full jumps off of platforms or drop through wavelands, stuff like that, it would absolutely break this game, even with shields. They basically just didn't want to put people in a situation where you could just jump the platform, shield, hold down, and just kind of shut down people completely. That would just absolutely break this game the way it stands now. So their concession for that was, we'll let you still do like plat drops and stuff straight down. Those are still good. But if you do that badly or if you get predictable with it, it's really easy. Just dash up under platforms with shield, and just punish really bad plat drop aerials. I think we even saw that in like one of the trailers they did for Maple. We saw Ranno just do like a plat drop bear and he fucking died for it. That's definitely still present in the game. That still feels like Rivals, honestly. So that brings me to the next thing. How did Plat Boost feel? Well, Plat Boost I didn't really notice. They aren't really in the game. But like the way everything was playing out, the way matches were playing out, I barely saw anyone at least use them or put themselves in positions where it came out like very often. It's not like people are fishing for options where they're going, oh, I want this plat boost fair in order to finish out a combo. No, people are fast enough on the ground. You're still able to wave dash fast enough off the plats, and it seems like people have bigger options enough or enough respect for like the immediate ledge area or just up in the air with the way the stages are built that you can just kind of capitalize no matter what people go to, plat boosting or no, at least in my opinion. Because that also brings me to the fact that the characters kind of felt a little bit bigger. That maybe like a camera trick or something like that. But it just felt like people had more range overall to work with. So plat boosting just never really had a chance to come up, honestly. In a similar vein to that, there was the thing they released in the FAQ that double jumps would reset your horizontal momentum. And with the way the stages were laid out and how the characters, I think, felt, I didn't really notice that either. Like, this game is, like, super close to the ground, and I'll get more into that as I talk more about the attacks and how combos felt and stuff like that. But if you are double jumping in the air, you're kind of hanging up there for quite a while, or you're already on a plat. So by the time you would do anything to notice, like, losing double jump momentum with horizontally at least, you're probably already in a position where you're like doing your next option out of like a plat drop, or you're waiting with a projectile or something like that, or you're doing your next character specific option. Like Crag double jump doesn't matter as much when he's already a big slow guy who just wants to pillar in your face in neutral. Like he just wants to be straight above you. Or Ranno, who already has like slow airspeed, who just wants to hang around platforms anyway. Like that was what I saw. And then you have characters like Raster, who is already adding a ton of momentum by just like jumping around the slipstream and stuff. That from the talking with Baguette Boy anyway, Raster felt similar. So I doubt he noticed as much. I can always double check it with him, but if I'm gonna take his word that Raster felt similar in that regard. And speaking of airspeed, the airspeed actually felt good. And this is coming from someone who basically just played 99% Ranno. The airspeed still felt pretty good. It felt like the gravity just overall was higher. So people would just kind of snap down very, very quickly back towards the ground. And of course, people were also just like wave dashing and stuff around. So airtime was... This is still definitely a very ground-focused game. So combos. Again, this is going to be like 99% Ranno stuff because that was the one character I was actually interested in. I did get some notes from like the other characters that were either like universal changes or stuff like that, or just kind of like overall buffs that I feel like Dan, Trevor, and co. wanted to make more standardized or had to basically just played better. So to start, all of Ranno's tilts have gotten pretty buffed, I would say. They all keep people way closer to the ground. You could space them on shield really easily. I was just doing a lot of run up, poke down tilt on people's shield, and then they would like whiff a dash attack or something else, shield or something, and I just hit them with needles and start my bullshit. Up tilt I think was a little bit shorter, but it's very, very snappy. I think the actual backflip handstand he does actually sends him like a teeny bit back, but it may be like a camera thing or something like that. I'm trying to remember how many times I hit people off of platforms. It might be a new spacing thing, but it still felt really good. I was hitting people straight up on the platforms. It feels a lot more consistently instead of getting those like super weird angles you get with Ranno up tilt sometimes. F tilt felt great. Low percent F tilt kept basically just forced to tech chase until like mid percents, like almost all the time. And it kept them close enough to Ranno where it felt like I was able to get like F tilt dash attack just really, really consistently. I'm sure that'll change as people actually learn defense and actually learn like the tech setups and just the hold away and stuff like that. But for that felt pretty nice. I was super happy to see that. I think with just knockdowns in general too, F tilt is just way easier to time now for Ranno as well. It's very likely that if someone misses attack and they choose a direction, if you're spacing well with the actual kick, F tilt is actually just active enough that it's a better timing to catch the roll than it feels in Rivals 1, at least in my opinion. Again, I'm sure people will learn better tech chases for now, but I think that's a good starting point to have for the character, and I'm super excited to see how that develops. Strong attacks also felt good. I know Ranno has his charged projectile on F smash, but it didn't really come up all that often. I figured the one place I would use it, throwing people off stage, is something I could do, kind of like how Shovel Knight's charge for Dirt Block, if they send you off stage. But I just had the muscle memory of like, I threw them off stage, let me make sure I have needles, let me make sure I have a bubble and stuff too. I'll get more in the bubble, I love bubble. But yeah, that I didn't get to see that as much. I'm sure it'll be relevant in like tech chasing at like higher percents or something for like late percent kills. That would be very, very nice to use. Oh yeah, Ranno's new down smash is probably my new favorite move aside from the bubble changes. So it's spacey split kick, so Fox Falco down smash, where it just sends you at the hell angle. I got a tech chase, someone rolled into me, they ended up behind me, and then usually where I just like up smash them and try and juggle them or hope it kills, I was just able to like down smash. I think there was a sweet spot on Ranno's foot, where it just sent them to basically just the bottom corner off stage. At a really, really awful angle to recover from. And that made me so super happy. You have no idea. I love that for Ranno's kit. It just fits so much better. And it was like really decently strong in terms of knockback. I was getting people off stage like fairly early percents off of like simple tech chases with it. So I'm going to be super excited to lab more with that. Definitely one of the ones I was looking forward to the most. Up smash is still broken. It's definitely still one of Ranno's most consistent kills. I was doing a lot of Daka's fishing still, just in like free-for-alls and stuff, just to see how it felt. Timing it felt a little bit better. You could still do like down till Daka shenanigans. I'm sure as we get more practice in and more accustomed to how the actual dashing and stuff then feels, down till Dakos will just be as consistent. It'll still be as obnoxious as it is in Rivals 1, if not more so. I wouldn't be surprised due to the lack of Drifty Eye. I'll get to the lack of Drifty Eye in a second. But yeah. So for specials, Needles basically felt the same. I kind of wish you could cancel Needle Charge with Grab. So I'm a bit of a weird one. I have Z bound to parry in Rivals 1, and then I use Z exclusively to stop Needle Charge. In Rivals 2, I was using a Z to grab. So if I were to ask for one thing, I want grab to be able to cancel needle charge. Not do like needle into immediate grab. Just like stop it. Just like make it functionally the same as pushing shield. So a little bit of stuff there. I was just using L. It's no big deal instead. But yeah, needles felt the same. Trying to snipe people going to ledge to do like needle fair stuff felt different. But Ranno can just kind of hang over there where if they do a bad get up option, I can just kind of fair them or wait them out and hit them with needles there anyway. Again, that's more things to look forward to in lab. But needles off stage to kind of just force certain recovery routes still feels really strong, especially the way recoveries are changed overall. People can still easily eat through needles. Most C uppies have pretty decently sized hitboxes or ways to easily maneuver around it, but it still forces different like mix-ups and stuff essentially. So it didn't feel like I was burning resources the same way you do in Rivals 1, where you just wait out, double jump, or air dodge with needles, and then you just needle fair them. It feels like I want you to take this route to the ledge so that the next time you get the ledge, I know that I'll force you to have a certain ledge timing or to hug the wall a bit more closely. So I can just do like ledge fair or ledge drop, back air, or something like that. That seems like it'll be really, really good for Ranno. Tongue felt the same. Tongue doesn't hit people who are knocked down, but it does beat shield. So you can't do like hit fall nair on someone's shield into immediate ones, but you can definitely scare people into shield by doing nair into them. I was hitting people with like space down tilts and stuff like that, and then they just try and like panic roll and stuff away from me, at which point you just dash in like tongue and stuff like that. I was getting a lot of people with that. But yeah, tongue overall felt the same. I love that man grab. For recovery, it felt like the grab hit the ledge box for Ranno, and at least for a lot of the characters, were pretty generous. So there were times where it felt like I tongued the middle of the wall or like the upper like third of the wall, and I would just grab ledge as soon as I got to the wall. That'll definitely take some getting used to. I'm pretty sure you can still wall jump out of it, but the way the spacings work, I basically never saw it. Again, something to lab once people get more comfortable recovering in this game and actually develop new routes. But for now, it just feels like tongue is a pretty safe way to just snap the ledge, or if people are like putting active hitboxes on, up B is huge, so you can definitely maneuver around with the up B. So it's still a very satisfying one to recover against. Ranno's recovery is still pretty good. I'll definitely get more into recovery overall with the rest of the cast in a bit. I didn't talk about dash attack yet. I just jumped to specials. Dash attack is definitely noticeably laggier. That's probably the one move I noticed the lack of whiff lag in this game has. So dash attacking shield is definitely not safe. There were times I was hitting people with simple starters, so like down tilt dash attack, stuff like that, and then I would try to like do a jump aerial follow-up, but I was doing it too early, I guess. It wasn't accounting for the new end lag dash attack has, so the aerial just like wasn't coming out. I think you can see that in the VOD I posted of me playing against the dev. I would hit dash attack a few times, but then nothing else would actually come of it, because I was trying to do like jump fair or jump nair or something like that, and I was just doing it way too early just because that's what Rivals 1 Ranno allows me to do. That's honestly not like a big deal. That's just something to relearn. Like, everyone's gonna have to relearn bread and butters in this game. That's just how the engine's gonna feel. That's just how the system mechanics are gonna work now that there's like actual shields and stuff like that, and DI is gonna be really different. So looking forward to relabbing that. But that's definitely something to get used to. And I think most of the dash attacks I've seen show that pretty well. Alright, now Bubble. Bubble's definitely my new favorite thing about Rivals 2 Ranno. They made Bubble spawn a hell of a lot faster in this build. So in Rivals 1, Bubble spawn takes like 55 frames off the top of my head, something like that. Almost a full second. It's atrocious. It's very, very slow to set up. It's not very practical. It takes forever to reposition. But this one, Bubble Spawn feels almost instant. It is very much in line with like the rest of Ranno's normals and stuff like that. You can control it basically immediately. And you can... So there were plenty of situations. I would just do like shore hop, spawn, bubble, and neutral. Someone would dash into me, and I'd already be on the ground and just down tilt their approach like several times. That's happened a lot. So stuff like that. I know you can make needles off a bubble, but that's going to be another thing to lab, because that was like super counterintuitive to what I was trying to do. I kept trying to have bubble like above me to like catch people who get stray hits on me or something like that, or something I can just kind of like jump up to and dare if I felt like I wanted like to mix up people's timings. So like banking needles off of it in neutral is something I'll probably have to like relearn, figure out new bubble placements for neutral and stuff like that. That'll be fun. But yeah, that was how I was trying to use bubble. If I sent someone off stage and I was like roll distance from the corner, I would also try and spawn bubble. And then it's like, okay, I'll try and down tilt and try and poke them as they come up over the ledge and see if I can like combo them into bubble. For some recoveries that kind of worked. For others, I guess I would probably do like get on ledge and then like get up attack or something like that instead. But bubble still felt really good. Some of the bubble momentum is gone. I noticed. I tried doing some of the like bubble boost tech. Needle boosting is still there, but like it definitely feels like bubble float keeps you there a lot more stationary. I'm not even sure the devs knew how egregious bubble movement shenanigans are in Rivals 1 currently, but that's completely understandable. Baguette Boy was showing Trevor how to hover clap, so these types of things can definitely be added in later. That was a pretty minor thing just because of like how the plat drops and stuff were feeling anyway. But yeah, bubble is great. I love bubble. Bubble recovery feels a lot faster just because faster bubble spawn just means I can just tongue so much quicker back to stage, like no matter where I am. So even like bottom corner stuff, I was just able to bubble slingshot and then immediately upbeat a ledge. I didn't have to do the entire wait out the entire second, stall with the bubble and make sure I don't get hit or make sure it's not in the way of people trying to swat the bubble away from me. The rule is if people hit bubble, I still can't control it for a second, which is still completely fair. That's a one-to-one translation as far as I saw. I think the bubble timer is about the same, so bubble stays about as active for as long. But you can just go to ledge and ledge special, and it will spawn a new bubble. That's currently the only way to spawn a new bubble while a bubble is already out, as far as I'm aware. If you ledge special and then down B, you just control the bubble that's already out. Yeah, so ledge moves. Ranno's get up attack felt really good. It was really quick. It got people. It does its job fairly well. Pretty standard. Ledge special felt really good. I feel like it will probably be more reactable as people are getting ready to look at it and learn the spacings and everything like that. But I was reversing like plenty of people. I was able to do let's get up, run up fair and air them while they're in the bubble and stuff like that. It just seems like people aren't ready to DI if they're trying to like hit you out of like a ledge special. So their DI is not going to be as great hitting them with these super awkward timing moves. That'll definitely change as people get better at the game for sure. But I'm happy to see it. It feels good to use. It feels super intuitive. It puts the bubble in a great spot if you get launched again. So I love it. It's one of my favorite moves on Ranno so far, aside from like down strong. Alongside the bubble changes, Ranno's slows are great. They pair really well with how bubble works. I was hitting people into bubble with like back throw and up throw pretty consistently. You can just kind of hold bubble around the ledge it seems, and it'll catch a lot of DIs if you catch a good throw. Actual bubble combos felt really different. I'm guessing this is gonna change depending, but I got a few people in bubble and my immediate instincts was just to fair spike them a bunch. But it feels like the timing for like doing those types of aerials are very different on bubble, or there's a new mechanic that I'm not aware of. So trying to like aerial people in bubble like I'm used to in Rivals 1 is definitely not the same. I ended up using a lot more tilts and stuff when people were in bubble and just doing like waveland finishers if I saw people drifting to like platforms and stuff. Aerials on bubble were kind of weird. But again, nothing that probably won't be relabbed once the game comes out proper and I can actually see like what's going on a bit more clearly. One thing I forgot to mention is that you can absolutely wave bounce in this game. I asked Trevor about it and he went, oh yeah, it's kind of weird you can't do that in Rivals 1, so we added it here. Wave bouncing needle charge felt really good. That movement will be insane with just like needle cancels and the bear and nair and stuff like that. That'll definitely be a huge part of how Ranno in Rivals 2 plays, and it will be sick as hell. I can't wait. Just being able to go underneath platforms without just doing straight down charge needles feels really good as Ranno, or just being able to go from like top platform up towards center and then back towards
like another platform, like on Fire Capital, or in that weird like in between area on like Battlefield in terms of like platforms and stuff, and just being able to hold that position like that, it basically extends the way Ranno's like actual plat drop stuff works. Now you can like influence his momentum with turnaround needles and stuff like that. Wave bounce, turnaround B, I don't care. It's all wave bouncing to me. Also, I can just imagine just doing tongue slings in neutral and then just not committing with just jump, turn around, neutral B or something, that just go to a different platform and just do really funky movement like that. If you look at Sheik PM stuff, there's a lot of movement tech with that. I think Sheik has like almost infinite wall bounce chains or something like that. I have no idea how Sheik works like that, but I know there's some funky stuff with needles. So if any PM Sheik players would like to enlighten me, I would love to know, because I will steal it for Rivals 2. Absolutely, for sure. It'll be fun. Up B was definitely the move that took the most getting used to. It's way bigger. So a big thing with Rivals 1 Ranno is just being able to dive kick edge cancels very consistently and just bounce around platforms that way. With Rivals 2, the graphic is so big, it was hard for me to judge whether I was getting edge cancels or not, or whether I was spaced correctly for it, because I wasn't sure on like the actual dive kick angle for it. It was that big. I think I got it once, so it is definitely still there. It's just going to take a lot more getting used to, and it's going to be a lot more risky because it's not an infinite thing you can just jump out of whenever anymore. Instead, there's just a set dive kick to it. So eventually the dive kick just ends and it just leaves Ranno falling again, but like completely actionable. So I guess I didn't try air dodging out of it, but I assumed you can. You're committed to a lot of distance when you do the down B special. So it's very hard to tell when I was actually actionable again, because I ended up just so low. I'm not even sure I was able to wall jump half of the time when doing the actual dive kick for it, and I'm pretty sure I should have been able to, or something like that. Again, it might be me needing more practice, or it might need more visual clarity. I guess we'll have to see, but that's what it felt like to recover for me. Just having one up B to scale the wall took a lot of getting used to, but they increased the distance for up B like considerably. I was able to snap ledge from almost the bottom blast zone after doing double jump air dodge on basically like every stage. Ranno can just do that. So it seems like they want recovery to be a lot more straightforward. They just want you to commit to one route basically, instead of just hanging on stage before just eventually snapping on top of a platform or onto the corner like you would in Rivals 1. They just want you to immediately choose your route and commit to it, which I think is cool. I think it's very different, but it'll definitely take some relearning and getting used to in a good way, I feel. And there's still all the like tongue bubble mix-ups and stuff too. So Ranno's recovery is still sitting in a really, really good spot, I feel. Up B in general just also had a ton more horizontal drift when it came to distance. So there were times I felt like I would up B from below the ledge, shoot up to about like the top of center stage, and then just end up on like behind people once I dive kicked. There's still plenty of lag on it. So it's definitely still looks punishable, but people will definitely have to relearn that spacing, because up B is just absurd. It is huge. So aerials. Ranno Nair is still really busted, turns out. It's busted in Rivals 1, and it feels just about as busted, if not more busted in this game. On hit at low percents, it felt like Nair dash attack or Nair down tilt were just way more consistent, even more so than they are in Rivals 1. I was getting a lot of just mileage out of just flat drop Nair in general. That's good, still a really strong option for Ranno. And if people shield, we have tongue. We have an actual grab now, or we can just wave bounce out of the way or do whatever. It's fine. Bear's still really broken. Bear was the one I noticed the lack of sound on, ironically enough. It was really loud in the venue. There wasn't much sound on the actual setups themselves, so I hope the sound effects get a lot more oomph to it. a lot more impact to it. But Bear is still broken. Let's Drop Bear is like really good on Ranno. Jump Bear is really good. I was still catching people by just doing like tongue to stage, back air them off stage. Fair is really good. Fair is just still big. I was able to drift a lot with just doing like fade back fairs, and people would just get hit by a ton of them. They were just dashing into me constantly. Needle fair was still kind of a hard confirm to hit. Now that people are just like auto snapping to ledges, but I'm sure that's still an option. That'll just have to be relearned. That's a new spacing. We'll have to learn to snipe. But fair itself still felt good. Fair spiking felt kind of awkward. It's definitely PM force flinch state, so it's not like Rivals 1 spikes or grounded spikes where you just immediately bounce or something like that. You're just in a really long force flinch state. So learning to hit fall on that and then get a follow-up on that will definitely take some getting used to. But it looks really sick. I think you could even see it in one of the VODs I do. I did a fair spike, and then yeah, like nothing happened because they expected to pop up, so they were still on platform just waiting awkwardly. Or I can't remember if that was me or the other run VOD I got. Whatever, you'll see it. With fair, I also noticed that they tried implementing melee style reverse hits. So one of the first fair kills I got a sweet spot fair, and it sent completely behind me, almost like a reverse knee. It still killed, and it was still very, very powerful. But it seems like they just added a ton of universal reverse hits just because they're hype and they were fun. So be on the lookout for that. That's still great.
Up air was kind of weird. I was trying to do a couple of up air 1 stuff, but people would either just shield it or they'd fall like really far forward in front of me. Up air in general just seems like if they DI in, they go straight up. If they DI out, they go straight out. So basically just a more horizontal angle than the Ranno 1 up air. And then up air 1 stuff seems a lot stricter to time. At least with like the actual new engine and everything. That'll probably just another thing to just re-practice to get used to how the character feels again. But up air 1 just does not feel the same. I think I tried doing like an up air up smash and they just ended up on like the other corner of the platform or something like that. Or not like super out of the way, but enough so that it was very noticeable that they were not aligned with where the up smash ended up. Up air 2 still felt like a decent juggle tool. They would just basically snap the platforms, and a lot of people would just do wake up shield from there. So that's definitely something you can play around in terms of like up air strings and stuff like that, or just like following up airs to like pop people up. Dare I think was definitely the most underutilized one. That one was kind of awkward. I didn't see very many uses for it because I was still learning the spacings for everything. I wasn't sure if it would like poke through platforms or how much I could fall with it. So it didn't really feel like much once I did land it. I think I only got like 2 hits or something like that. I tried doing like a hit fall on the Dare 2, and I don't think it really worked that well. Again, something else to relearn because it just feels like a very, very different move. Almost definitely more bouncy. So if you're familiar with how like I think it's ZSS Dare in PM, where she almost bounces with her multi-kick dare. That's closer to what this one felt like. So I guess that brings me into DI, or the lack of drift DI, as Rivals 1 players are worried about it. I didn't really notice the lack of drift DI, like, at all. Most of the low percent stuff kept people really, really close to the ground. So, like, the high gravity thing I mentioned before, a lot more emphasis on, like, actual attacking and knockdown states and stuff like that. So, like, by the time people were, like, actually popped up, most people were either committing to just going straight up to stay on the stage, or they were risking going off stage. There's basically, like, no in between with the way the combo finishers in this game were working. So I was getting, like, people off stage with Bear. They're not, like, going to drift in immediately with the Bear. They're just going to recover and snap the ledge as soon as they can. So with the lack of drift, yeah, I didn't really notice it at all. Like, the way the moves felt,
this wasn't the type of DI system where you have to worry about Crag doing like fair chains off the side of you. The stages and the way they're laid out and the way the knockback was scaling on their moves, Crag only needed to like ferry once, then get a read by the time you got the ledge. Stuff like that. Not as much as comment on the stage sizes, because I think, as I said before, Fire Capital is 1-to-1. They gave more offstage area to Rockwall. So the one stage where it was really noticeable was the Forest Floor with the swinging platform. That stage was pretty small, so just getting launched off of there, you just wanted to get back to ledge immediately, so you weren't really concerned about drifting in as much as just surviving the attack to recover as soon as possible. And I think with the way the jumps work as well, you're not really going to be chasing people by just jumping at them the way you would in Rivals 1 with like Plat Booster, Double Jump Momentum or stuff. It's a very different combo ender system, which I think I personally prefer at this point, because it lets you just get a really solid grounded read, or you follow their path back to stage and let you land something really, really meaty instead of, oh, I'm just going to fair train them at 40. If not, I will ledge trap them for like 80% until either neutral is reset or I just kill them. It's just you kill them with your initial combo, or you ledge trap them for the actual percent, and then the read comes at any point in between, which I like because it lets you choose your strings to find the actual finishers rather than just assuming your ledge trap will just kill for you, or just hoping that random stray aerials on the corner will just combo end with people in the top corner or in the blast zone of like 50 anyway. Alright, so grabs. Grabs feel really good in this game. There's a lot of situations where people are doing like panic shield. Again, they're being really close to the ground. They're waking up. You have a person running at you. You're going to push shield. Not as much parry. It was just very much default shield. The pummel system felt great. It feels like a mash check, basically. Because if people are waking up and they want to swing at you, that basically guarantees that you know they're mashing A, because they're trying to mash like a normal tilt at you or something to like control the space immediately in front of them. So if you grab them, you know that's a free special pummel. If you know they're timing it, you get an extra regular pummel for extra damage. So it's not going to be the thing where people are worried, oh, I know this special pummel is always going to be broken, so I'm always going to mash special. It might come to that like immediately, but for now, in the build I played, that's how it generally felt to grab people. And also the rule is, if you pummel them, the grab timer, or the re-grab timer, is shortened. So if you grab someone, don't pummel them immediately. Throw them. It takes quite a while to be able to re-grab them. But if you pummel them, by the time they've come back down to the floor, you can just grab them again. As long as you've pummeled. So it gives you an incentive to actually pummel and risk the throw break, because you can get so much damage off of like these pseudo chain grabs, basically, which I think is a really, really sick design. Yeah, you get to chain grab people, but only if you're constantly winning these 50-50s and you have the conditioning down pat, which I think is just very, very satisfying. For Ranno specifically, because that lets him do his really fast normal pummel versus the special pummel that basically always full poisons you. And he's going to get a lot of percent off of that. I guarantee it. For the throws themselves, for Ranno's throws, I think all of Ranno's throws are excellent. My default ended up being up throw. Up throw sends pretty high, but Ranno has super jump, so it doesn't matter. So I was doing a lot of up throw fair. It was really easy. People would either go straight up or they'd go straight to the corner, where it's really easy to fair. I'll send them off stage with fair anyway, or just do like run up bear or something like that. But I was doing a lot of up throw fair. That seems to be like a really, really consistent bread and butter for Ranno. Maybe like up throw up air if they get to like higher percent, you just want to like kill them off the top or something. But I think 90% of it will probably just be like up throw fair.
I could be wrong, of course. People will relearn B&Bs, so there'll be a lot of different situations for it. But I really like that combo, and I want to say how much I love to use it. Down throw is also really good. Down throw dash attack just seems really busted as a B&B. At like slightly higher percent, so starting around like 80-ish, I was trying to do like down throw tech chase up smash or Dacus. So like I think if you do like down throw dash forward immediately and they tech away, you can just Dacus them for free. So I think that'll be another really consistent setup, or like just F smash or something like that too. It feels like down throw F smash will definitely just be like a day one check for Ranno. It keeps people really close to the ground. People have to be really ready to tech it. It's really good. F throw is really good. I really like F throw. It sends it a good angle off stage. It keeps them a little bit high, so if you immediately jump, you can just run up, super jump, fair them or bear them, and just wall them out super effectively. If you have needles and they try and jump in, they'll probably just eat needles for free. If bubbles is there, it basically guarantees they go in the bubble. Back throw sent a little bit higher, so if you know what Cloud back throw looks like in like Smash 4 or Ultimate, that's basically Ranno's back throw. I think the angle is like a tad bit steeper though, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's like, oh, if they hold like hard in, they might even go like straight up or like borderline straight up. I wouldn't hold it to that. It seems like a pretty kind of set angle like that, but that's the type of throw it is. It doesn't seem like a kind of combo throw like at all, which I think is fine. It just seems like a bubble setup thing, or just like something you use to set up like super jump reads, which I'm totally down for.
All right, so for shields, shields definitely felt like they had a tad bit more health than I thought they would. I think by the time I was doing like a lot of dash shields against people's pressure, I think it was just sitting around like half. There's no shrinking shields. It just gets more visibly cracked, which is good. I think shield poking is a very, very dumb mechanic. It wouldn't fit this game at all with the way these people's normals just have the range they do and stuff like that. Like, imagine Ranno Nair shield poking you. That'd just be fucking awful. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy, and I made the fucking character. So yeah, shields felt really intuitive, really simple concept. You can just dash shield a lot of stuff in this game. It seems like the thing they want to do is they want people to guess whether people are going to be holding down shield for an extra amount of time or parry out of shield. So in this game, the input for parry is shield plus special, which means you can just parry out of shield. Which led to a lot of cool situations because take Maple. So it looks like one of the basic matchup checks for Maple will be if Maple dash attacks your shield, you can shield the first hit and then parry the second hit almost on reaction if you're looking for it. But Maple's a fast character, so she can just run up grab you anyway. Or you can like ASDI down the entire dash attack on hit or something like that, in which case Maple can just kind of wait behind Lily or Seed or something like that. There's a lot of nuance to it already, I can tell. But I think that's already cool. So similar thing with Raster. Raster's fast enough in Slipstream where he can just run up shield grab you basically just whenever. Or if you miss base stuff on his shield, he'll just up you, but that's whatever. But he can't just do like free spaced aerials on your shield the entire time, or he can't just like dash attack you for free, because you can just ASDI down or just shield grab it like most of the time. So that dynamic already looks a lot more fun. That'll make fast characters a lot easier to deal with. If they do add Ori to this game, Ori is not confirmed. Do not take this as such. That would just make like Ori Shorehop Fair like a lot easier to deal with, to the relief of many, I would suppose. There's spot dodging in this game. I didn't see very many uses for it. You could just kind of shield stuff like pretty easily. The frame advantage for blocking at least like the bigger normals and specials and stuff felt pretty intuitive. People were still hitting aerials pretty high, so spot dodging stuff didn't really seem necessary. Again, I don't really know what grabs and stuff I'm looking for to like spot dodge grab either, so I'm sure that'll become more relevant as people also get better. But I didn't really see many spot dodge usage of like the entire time I was there. Parry is still good. Putting people in parry stun instead of just making them a grayed out sprite. They play through an entire animation. So if you're familiar with how Ranno looks dizzy
when you parry his tongue. That everyone basically has that as their parry stun animation, not the extra stun that Ranno has, just like the default parry stun. It's the same amount of parry stun, but you can see it visually as a timer to see when they're getting out of the actual parry stun, which is nice, but it also made me feel like there was less parry stun initially until I asked Trevor about it, and he told me that it was 1-for-1 the same number of parry stun frames. So seeing a timer definitely made me rush my punishes a bit. And it seems like it rushed a lot of people because there were people who were getting parries but not like spacing their moves correctly after getting the parry, just because like they were rushing in the position just to like hit any button as soon as they got the parry. I think even like Danner's people, they would just F smash the wrong way or something like that. That was pretty common there. That seems like something that'll also be practiced out. I forgot to mention throw breaks. The throw breaks are also... Well, I might have talked about the throw breaks. Anyway, there's like more I want to say about the throw breaks. And that was breaking out of the throw. If the person throwing isn't ready for it, they can absolutely get punished for grabbing people. There were several times where people weren't ready for me to actually throw break out of their grab because I was just mashing A like the dipshit Ranno I am. But then I'd get the throw break. I recognized I'd get the throw break, and then I was just immediately able to dash attack them. If you're holding up while you get the throw break, you just get throw breaked into the air, which makes it a lot harder for people to punish, or it just goes to like more true neutral. Where if you're grounded, you're basically like roll distance away. So if you have like a quick dash attack or something like that, you can definitely expect to get smacked or play the like 50-50 of who's going to swing first, who's going to shield again, stuff like that. I guess since I gushed about Ranno, I can go into some of the other character stuff. Crag is massive, for one. Crag was just like so massive. I was throwing him into tech chase situations, and if he teched in, I was able to just hit him with moves that I aimed in front of me. When he was on top of me, I was just kind of hitting his butt. And there were some instances where like he just couldn't SDI out of stuff. So he's just that big. That even because everyone got a universal SDI buff as well, it made it really obvious for things like Raster NATO or Maple Up Air. You could just kind of fall out of those pretty easily, but not Crag because he's just that big. But other than that, Crag is still Crag. One of the gimmicks you'll probably run into Crag is if they do like pillar and neutral and you get scooped up to the pillar and meet them up there, they're just gonna grab you like every time. The first dev, not Dan, who we fought, whose name I forgot, they were doing that a lot, and they would just do Crag down throw. People were panicking, holding it, and then he just like F smash you or down smash you. You can just hold out from that. It's not that scary. But I guess the mix up there is Crag F throw is a kill throw, or it sends you really, really far. So if you're trying to punish Crag on pillar like that, either when he does the scoop up in neutral or like while he's ledge planking or something like that, he can absolutely just F throw you from those positions and kill you for it. So I think that's a really cool mix up, honestly. You could probably just also like mash spot dodge and avoid the grab if they're like doing that intentionally, or just like try and buffer roll or jump or fall off the side of it. The normal pillar counterplay stuff from Rivals 1. There's a lot of options there. Let's see. Rock felt about the same. It may have been a little bit bigger, but that's kind of hard to tell with like the camera stuff. But dealing with Rock felt like just better. At least as Ranno, like it was really easy in air Rock in this one. Let's see. Down tilt on Crag and same with Zetter. Those types of down tilts where they just kind of send like down and out. They seem to just got like buffed due to like the system mechanic changes. And Crag down tilt was already like mad good, so that was like really surprising. So basically just imagine Crag putting you in like a tech chase hell just for hitting down tilt once. He's still kind of slow, so you can probably just like tech out and still kind of deal with it. Okay, maybe eat a rock, but it's still pretty hell. You can still shield side B and you can shield down B pretty easily. If you get a good spacing on that, you can definitely find some really free punishes on that. it does look like Crag's side B. If it hits your shield, it just lets them be actionable, but not so actionable that they just get the mash on your shield for free. You could probably do like, oh, if they touch your shield with side B and you read that they're immediately going to mash on you, you just push B and you parry them or something like that. Or you just jump out of shield and just avoid the situation entirely. That's still a really good option to deal with side B. For down B, it felt like if I shielded the first two spikes, I could probably get a punish. If I was like behind a third spike and I shielded it, it left us at about even. So if you do like a bad dash in, you'll probably get dash attacked or F tilted for shielding down B. But shielding down B just feels so much better than just trying to reaction parry it every time. Reaction parrying it will probably still be really good. In fact, if you're probably sitting right on top of like the first two spikes and you shield it, it's probably really easy to recognize that the first two spikes hit your shield, so you can just push B to parry the third one every time. That'll definitely be a pretty consistent answer, I feel like.
Crag cargo throw, I don't think is going to be as obnoxious as people assume it's going to be.
Crag is already just kind of slow, so the cargo throw ends up being just more of a finisher than anything. So that's a special pummel. If he gets a read on that, he could probably do like, oh, he special pummel, grab you, throw you upwards or something like that. But it's not like he's able to actually get a solid up air or something out of like cargo up throw. Unless he's not going to ding dong you unless you drop your controller, basically. Or he's not going to like fair you if he does like neutral cargo throw or something like that. He's just that slow for that type of thing. But he can definitely just do like cargo down throws just as like a solid spike at like a reasonable percent, so that's not too bad to deal with. As for finding the rock shine in neutral, apparently Keeb was trying to fish for it a lot. And if you know how small rock shine is in Rivals 1, it's just about as small in Rivals 2. So trying to find just random cargo throws in neutral just seems like it'll be really hard unless you have like a really, really consistent execution for it. And it seems like you could probably get even better combos with or without cargo throw anyway. So that's up for Crag mains to figure out. But yeah, cargo throw isn't actually like super obnoxious or anything, and it barely came up. Oh yeah, so Fleet, probably the one people want to know the most about because she's the new one. She's very obnoxious. Like half her kit sends out arrows and stuff like that, so she covers a lot of space at once. Her down B and her up B move her in very unique ways, so it's very hard to know where she's going sometimes. The empowered side B looks like it will be kind of obnoxious to deal with, but it doesn't look like so obnoxious that it's a free neutral win button. You could still just run up shield the tornado and be fine. But like, you can definitely angle the side B up or down and then do empowered side B to have like a delayed tornado cover your path. So there were a few fleets I saw do that where they would jump up below the ledge, shoot an arrow up through the corner, so diagonally up through it, and then the tornado would go through the stage as they grabbed corner to push people off from ledge, stuff like that. Or you can do an arrow slightly downward over ledge or off a platform, and then the delayed tornado would let you drop through the platform behind it or push people slightly away from stage. Because it drags away with the tornado no matter how with the angle you do it at. So if you do it down, you do push people downwards with it. Not like an obnoxious spike or anything, but it's definitely a thing you'll have to recover against. Let's see. The Sephiroth mechanic she has, so the Sephiroth side B thing she was shown to have, I can't remember which move it actually was, but it didn't actually come up like super often. More so just the empowered arrow stuff. Let's see. Fleet's F smash was good. Fleet F smash is just firing the arrow. You can charge it to do more distance and more knockback, that type of stuff. It looks very similar to side B, but they're definitely different moves. Down smash is massive and it's very strong. It's basically just a super over the top Mewtwo down smash. I think there was one clip in the trailer where she it's the one where it's the giant ball of air. So in one of the trailers you could see her do it to a Zetterburn and get a kill like that. That's down smash. That's not, it looked like an F smash, it's down smash. Up smash is just a projectile upwards. You can Dacus it. It looks really good. Uh, all of Fleet's aerials are really, really good. Back air kills really reliably, and it's very big. Up air is basically like a palm up air, kind of slow, but also pretty big, and juggles very, very well. Uh, Neutral air is basically just like a Malone air, but like slightly more disjointed. Dare is obnoxious. It's basically Mega Man Dare, but it like always spikes. So it was causing people were doing it in neutral. It would just flinch people in neutral, and Fleet would just hover above them. Very obnoxious move to deal with. There was a setup. You can see it in the HKP versus Hayes set, where Hayes pushes HKP off the side with the EX arrow, and then was just immediately able to just spike Zetter at like 30%. So that'll be very, very obnoxious to deal with. Down B was okay. Down B always sends you backwards. You can so you can like B reverse it and stuff, but that's what you should know, and you're always committed to firing the arrow once you down B. So definitely very useful to recover with. Up B has a sweet spot at the top of it where it does a lot of knockback, but it seems very hard to time. So that's probably will be a okay combo finisher if Fleet mains figure out what to do with it. Float seems pretty good. It seems very, very funky. It seems like it rounds out our kit very, very well. It's not palm float where you hold a button to keep floating. It's PM Ganon slow fall. So how it works is you input down and jump, and it toggles. So once you push it, you don't have to hold it anymore. Fleet stays floating until she either, I guess, runs out of timer. Maybe you press down and jump again, or you like just do any other action. Basically, it's just a slow fall. Nothing too egregious. Other than that, Fleet's pretty straightforward. She's kind of slow on the ground. She's very, very light. I saw plenty of stocks against Fleet die. Fleet died at like 50 or 60-ish off of like one good edge guard read or a good smash stack at the corner or something like that. But yeah, pretty straightforward character otherwise, honestly. Let's see, Raster. Raster felt gutted. Or at least, like, I didn't play Raster, but seeing what they did to Raster it makes it feel gutted. So basically, the things that gutted him were the fact that he can't jump cancel his tilts on hit anymore. Probably because that would just make shield pressure ridiculous, and it doesn't really fit with like how everyone's super close to the ground anyway. Because JC down tilt and the JC down tilt, stuff like that, and those down tilt loops that Raster can do in Rivals 1 would be absolutely busted in Rivals 2, alongside like throw mix-ups and shit like that. Yeah, Raster can't JC tilts. Also, Dare is a lot smaller. So Raster mains will definitely have to relearn bread and butters to get people up into the air to do their traditional Raster bullshit of just carrying people off the top and shit like that. NATO is so much easier to SDI out of. You have no idea. I did a match against Baguette Boy, and he got me in a NATO, and I was just able to just do like 2 half circles to the right, and I just fell right out of it. It was great. You also can't fast fall Raster neutral B anymore, from what I've seen. So you can't just like land on top of people with it to recover for free or something like that. So yeah, Raster is toned down a lot. Also, Dare is a lot smaller, so it's not like that huge sweeping hitbox underneath him anymore. It's very much more reasonably sized now. Zetterburn still seems like he's very broken. Shine's still really good, obviously. They made Uppy like 10 frames faster on startup, so he doesn't have to charge for as long, and he snaps the ledge pretty well. Zetter's get up special basically guaranteed you got set on fire. Same with like his ledge get up and stuff like that, or his get up specials, all of them. They send fire basically across the ground, so you basically just have to stay up in the air or something like that, or just accept getting set on fire. Fireball seemed like a tad bit bigger, but I'm sure it's basically just new visual effects that make it hard to judge the size of it until we start actually playing. I didn't try crouching underneath Fireball or anything. It didn't seem like it came up that much because I was just shielding projectiles, basically.
A lot of what I'm saying about Zetterburn just comes from like Jarek's observations because they played a fuck ton more Zetterburn than I did. I think I only played like one game. Anyway, also like Nair drags down a lot more like how PM Wolf Nair does. So instead of just kind of popping straight up, it just kind of drags into Zetterburn a lot more cleanly. Sweet Spot Fair reverse hits are just going to be fucked up on Zetterburn. Like, you're just going to have to accept that. He basically just has knee. He has like a sweep knee. That's kind of crazy to think about, huh? Yeah, the rest of his aerials are still good. Down tilt, same with Crag down tilt. Feels a lot better on hit. Probably with the way the new text chase stuff works. But it felt like conversions off of down tilt just are going to be a lot more insane. Jabs are faster, so checking that's still good. And they nerfed down smash by 1 frame. So instead of 5 frame startup, it's now 6 frame startup. Alright, and Maple. Maple is still doing very much Maple things. I said the dash attack thing where you could parry second hit at a shield almost on reaction, but she still feels really, really good. All of Maple's throws look really good. Her down throw basically spikes you, but it's like a very, very slow spike. So if you're familiar with like how Fox down throw works in Melee, it's very, very similar to that. So she puts you way overhead. There's a lot of startups, so it's easy to react to. You can tech it pretty easily, and it doesn't spike you that hard, so it's not unreasonable to recover from it if you're like at low percents. Terry is okay. It looks like as a ledge option. I saw Terry get parried just plenty of times when he got planted so it doesn't seem like it'll be that broken. Poppy, the special pummel though, feels like it'll be very obnoxious to deal with. So a lot of the games from the day I was there was Dan, and he was playing exclusively Maple, and he would do this thing where he would do Poppy, throw you upward, and then plant Lily. And by the time you came back down, he would have a read on you. And he would either have a wrap set up ready to go into Lily, or he would do something like down throws, so you would DI way towards the platform. He would then jump, follow you a seed. The seed would pop you back into him, where he was able to up smash you and then kill you from there. So that'll be an obnoxious thing to always be ready to DI for. It doesn't seem like it'll be that bad to like actually DI and play around when people get some practice in. But that's definitely something to keep in mind. That seems like the intentional thing that Dan and Trevor and co want Maple to be able to do. Maple still felt pretty similar, honestly. Her recovery is still really good. Being able to wall cling out of side B is still really good. Her tether mechanic is changed. So if you look at the VODs, whenever someone is marked, above her portrait, above her percent, will say A and B or whatever your attack and special is bound. Because the new tether input is just attack plus special. And then a direction, so you can just not have to worry about initiating the FB first. With enough time, we may be able to convince them to make it just up B again, but that's just the default input for tether. Let's see. Lily didn't feel as oppressive to fight against. There were a lot of times you could just kind of like run up shield, and she's just kind of a non-issue. Stuff like that. Let's see. Down tilt's still really good on Maple. That falls under the Zetter Crag down tilt phenomena. Let's see. F tilt being angled up and down was pretty egregious because like it was forcing people onto the ground in weird angles that Maple's just so fast. She's always ready to react to it. So that seems really, really good. I asked Trevor if Ranno could have the same thing and be able to angle his F tilt upwards, and he asked me how that would look. To which I respond, Giovanna. But anyway, Maple, that's about it. Like, Maple up throw just seems really good because you can just plant Lily immediately afterwards. But it doesn't seem like you can do up throw, up air unless the opponent drops their controller, it feels like.
Alright, so final notes. Rivals 2 is not pandering to Rivals 1 players, like, at all. It basically stops at like the same characters and giving them new options. but mechanically it's just going to be different. And it's not going to be pandering to PM players like either. R2 is its own thing. It's sitting like really comfortably in the halfway point between Rivals 1 and like PM Melee type games. So that's what you should be expecting with this. If you are a Rivals 1 player, you're definitely going to have to relearn your bread and butters. There's no way around it. This game, mechanically on the ground, the way platforms and jumping just kind of works and how different it feels, it still feels good, but you're going to have to sit down and relearn all of your bread and butters, figure out new ones, figure out your juggles, all of that good stuff. It'll still be good. Don't worry. Just you're not going to be able to do the same R1 stuff and just pick up and play Rivals 2. That's just not going to happen. I like that a lot though, and I think the devs do too. The devs clearly know what they're doing. They've clearly experimented and refined a lot of this. It's very clear how they sat down and how they analyzed and how it probably just felt fun. Like, it's no secret they do the dev tournaments and everything just to make sure everything's balanced and that they are still having a good time with it. But yeah, people would give them suggestions of like the booths, and then they'd go into the fact that they've basically already had those types of discussions before, and then laugh at basically what practically ended up happening. So it's very, very clear that they know what they're doing. They know what game they want to put out, and I'm excited to see it. So yeah, that's about all I got. Thanks for sitting here. I just realized I've been recording for over an hour. Hopefully you can make sense of this, and see you in Rivals 2. Also, I heard it's at Riptide, so if you're going to Riptide, definitely let me know what you think.